Greetings to all of you. My dear sisters and brothers and my dear friends, you're welcome to my broadcast. This is Reverend Yeti. Find your place of rest in Jesus. Rest in Jesus day by day. This is what I'm going to talk about today. I hope all is well with all of you, that your day started okay. For those who are later in the day, I hope that the workday was quite okay. Or whatever the day was for everybody. Let's try to make the best of it with help of our Lord Jesus Christ. In the other lessons I gave you, we started to think about what resting in Jesus looks like over time. We stressed its continuous nature. We saw that the vine dresser is always caring for the branches. However, we don't experience time as an unbroken stream. God has divided our lives into days and nights. Earthly life is one of sleeping and waking. God has ordered it that way. The pattern of day and night was built into God's creation before the sin of Adam. If we read the narrative story about Adam and Eve, it was part of that creation that God called good. As we live day by day in the presence of God, we live in the echo of that original, uncorrupted creation. God never intended for us to live in one unbroken day. He measures our lives out to us in days and teaches us to appreciate each one. Jesus told his disciples, "Therefore do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about its own things." Sufficient for the day is each own trouble. Matthew 6:34. A day can only give you a day's worth of challenges. That may seem like a lot on some days, but it is never more than a day's worth. We make things harder than they need to be by worrying about the present day and future days at the same time. And I know we cannot help ourselves. In some ways we need to plan. There is a work schedule. There is a school schedule when everything starts in the new normal. Or just fill it in. There is a schedule. There is a planning. And here is Jesus saying, don't worry about what the next day will be. But of course we need to plan. Of course we have to make a schedule to make our lives regular, to do things right, to try to start something and to end something. But there is a different part on when there's constantly anxiety and worrying for that present day, even for the day that was past and the day to come. There is a lesson for us in the Old Testament. God gave manna to the Israelites in the wilderness. He instructed Moses, saying, "And the people shall go out and gather a certain quota every day." Exodus 16, verse 4. So it is with Christ, the living bread from heaven, in whom you have found your place of rest. You can only rest in Him one day at a time. And certainly, as I just mentioned a couple of minutes ago, there are things you can do today that will create a better future for yourself. But these things are part of your daily portion. They are part of God's daily will for you. The irony is that if you are preoccupied with what you will do in the future, you will neglect these daily duties. When you focus on the day itself, you will find that God has given abundant grace for that day. It is only enough for the day, but it is certainly enough. And we all know when we plan our days, see how much is really come out of that day as we planned it. How different that day already looks in the end of our evenings. Each day is a link in the chain. You build your life out of daily habits. Sometimes the decisions and actions of one day can change a life for better or worse. Yet even then, those decisions and actions are often the result of previously established habits. Besides the importance of taking one day at a time, there is another practical lesson in God's provision of manna: the importance of the morning. Manna was given to support the people for a whole day, but it had to be gathered in the morning. A well-spent morning influences the entire day. Do not over-spiritualize it. It is a natural fact. There is a unique power in what you do first things in the morning. There is something special about the quiet stillness of the early morning hours. But if your schedule prevents you from taking advantage of this, then the morning for you is whenever you first wake up. Jesus said in Luke 16, verse 10, "He who is faithful in what is least is faithful also in much." This is just as true of time as it is true of anything else. To a faithful steward, there are no little days. Each one is God-given and full of divine purpose. Be faithful with every day God gives you, and they will add up to much. What marks the beginning of the new day for you? Is it the time on the clock? Is it the rising of the sun? Continue in this path of resting in Jesus, and the clearest sign of the new day will become the grace that God visits you with each morning. In the next chapter, we will consider again what resting in Jesus looks like over time. We will see that the day itself is broken down into moments, and that you can rest in Him from moment to moment, just as you do from day to day. Learn to rest in Jesus in the day called today. As you do so, He will also teach you to rest in Him in the moment called now. May God be the one that guides you to your days, to help you focusing on things that you start for some in early mornings, for people who are starting later in the day. Whatever that day for you is, let it not just pass away. But find the beginning of the day, and if possible, bring it to an end where you can overlook what really happened. And you could be very surprised. May God's Spirit give you the insight and the wisdom to give structure when you plan. And don't forget to enjoy your day that is given from our Creator. Blessings in your early morning and day, midday, afternoon, late evenings, and sleep well for those who are already there to find a good night rest. Blessings. Bye.